Hi guys, so today I'm working on a little character illustration, and when I sat down to draw and to make this video, I could not get anything to work. It was just one of those days where drawing just wasn't working with me, and I was trying to get stuff down, and what I was putting down I wasn't liking, and I couldn't get any ideas for what to draw. And it was just really frustrating. I hate days like that where I feel like I want to draw and I feel ready to draw, but it just nothing is working and I don't really have any good ideas, or the things that I sort of think would be a good idea I can't really execute for some reason. So yeah, I mean this video started out kind of frustrating where I really wanted it to work and it didn't work, and I think that really I was just overthinking it. And I think that I do this a lot because I started out with this picture where I, of course, wanted it to be a finished illustration. I wanted a background and environment, a finished look for it, rather than just being like a character vignette, which is something that I did a lot more of a while ago. And I've been trying really hard to get away from that because I wanted to have more complex pieces that I'm producing. But so yeah, I've been spending a lot of time trying to take myself away from that. And the thing is that I do enjoy just sitting down and drawing characters, and I kind of got myself to a point where I don't even think about working that way. So when I was having this really kind of a funk today where I couldn't really draw and I couldn't really get any ideas, I decided that I was just gonna let myself draw a character. I wasn't gonna worry about an environment or what exactly she was doing, which are things that I really do care about putting in my piece, and I care about figuring those out. But today it just wasn't working. So I decided it's better to just simplify it and get something down and start working and be able to feel like I'm getting something accomplished. So yeah, like I said, I was definitely overthinking it when I tried to take down some of the things that were stressing me out a little bit and keeping me from drawing. It actually really helped. So once it was just like one singular thing that I needed to do, it was a lot freer for me to be able to just draw. So when I started working on her, and like I usually like to work when I'm sketching characters out, I try to think of their basic description and who they are and what their function is, so I know kind of what their decisions would be and what they're doing in the world and what choices they're making. And that really is necessary for when you're designing a character, so you know basically how to design them, what elements I should put in, what things I should change so that it fits more with their story. And for her, I wanted her to be more of a traveler, kind of an adventure type character. But I also want to show a little bit more of a duality where I wanted to show where she's a little bit rougher, and I added like scratches and she has this knife, and I just wanted it to look a little bit more like she's been through some things. But I also wanted to have this element where she was a little bit more conscientious of how she looks and a little bit more of a cuter aesthetic to her. So I wanted kind of those two sides that would make up one person, where she is a little bit rougher but still has a cute style. But one thing that I really struggled with on her, and I kept kind of coming back to it and fussing with it, and ultimately it just kind of ended up looking a little bit wonky, was her legs. They just start kind of sticking out in a weird angle and bending a little weird. And I got to the point where it was just like I kind of like that weird aspect of it, and it was time to just move on. But it's kind of nice. I don't know if nice is quite the right word. It's good when I'm working and I'm struggling on a very specific thing, and then I can clearly see I need to work on studying how legs actually look and how to draw the correct anatomy of legs when people are standing. Because when I was working on this, it was really a struggle to get the actual weight down. So it doesn't really look like how a normal person stands or how weight is really absorbed by the legs. So yeah, I mean, this definitely showed me where I really need to study coming up, because that's kind of a big deal. Is not being able to draw legs very well is kind of an issue, and I want to make sure that I can actually do them well, so I can sit down and I can draw a character and I can get the legs to work right. But yeah, I did look up a little bit of reference when I was working on her for the legs, but ultimately I couldn't really find any pose that was similar enough to what I wanted. And so I just I let it be what it was this time, with the allowance of myself being able to actually study this in the future and make sure that I actually have better reference for when I start out a pose like this. So So yeah, like at the very beginning, I was already struggling. So I think what I should have done was take a step back, look up some reference for a entire pose, and then drawn from that rather than having most of a pose figured out and then trying to shoehorn a reference for legs into a pose that it wasn't really designed for it, and it didn't really end up being cohesive. So ultimately, I'm happy with how she looks, even her kind of weird looking legs, but I'm definitely going to make sure that I put more attention into the future as far as making sure that I'm getting the anatomy correct and that I know what I'm trying to draw before I'm actually drawing it. And probably my favorite thing ever to do is to actually color characters. It's really exciting because it feels like it's this problem that I'm solving as far as choosing the right colors. And it's really cool. I love that feeling of feeling like I've solved a problem and put this puzzle together. So, I mean, I want to make sure that the colors speak to her personality, but that there's also enough variety that it's interesting to look at, but that she still looks very harmonious. And usually how I like to do that when I do characters is that I usually choose somewhere between like 3 or 5 colors, main colors that I choose from, and then I'll change the saturation and the lightness and the darkness sometimes. But that just gives it enough variety that there's enough to look at and it keeps your eye moving. But you also have the same colors throughout that are just slightly different. That way it keeps you looking throughout her and it looks very pulled together and harmonious. And I really love that. I love when it just comes together and I get the colors that I actually want and it looks like the character that I'm trying to draw. And thank you so much for watching. That is pretty much it for this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe so you can catch my future videos. And until then, I'll see you at my next one.